Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, and I want to thank Rena. I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to be with all of you today virtually and have the opportunity to share my story. And my name's Ron, and I'm a grateful sexaholic. I've been sober, very gratefully to tell you, since March of '08. It's a miracle for me. Anyway, so my story, like a lot of us, I can just kind of tell you from when I started out. My early memories were, as a little kid, I had a weird, what I thought was, I didn't know what a weird relationship with my mom was, but it seemed very strange and uncomfortable. The other thing I noticed as a young person, that the girls that I saw the girls, I'm maybe like 6 or 7 years old, and I really thought some of them were really cute and beautiful, and I just thought, like, there's no way they're going to want to talk to me. I felt very uncomfortable. Like, I had the sense that they wouldn't want me, and I wasn't good enough. And I saw other guys that could talk to them very comfortably, and I guess I had them high up on a pedestal, in my mind. I don't know why, but that's just kind of how I was. And then right around that time, I think like so many of us, I found my older brother's porn stash, and I found my dad even had magazines hidden in his drawer. So, and even before that, I was very aware, even as a little kid, of women and how they looked, and just thought it was unbelievable. So, anyway, those were my early days. Really was, I would call myself a pleasure hound. Even as a little kid, I just wanted what felt good, and certainly lusting and porn felt good. I was into anything that felt good. I didn't want to do anything that wasn't pleasant, and part of that was I didn't want to do my schoolwork. I had very little focus. I must have had really bad ADD. I don't even know, but I couldn't, ended up dropping out of high school, basically. And I also got into drugs. I was really a big pothead, did other drugs too, ended up, like I say, my whole school thing was a disaster. Between being in high school, I'll just remember that between staring at all the girls in the class, I was totally stoned on that. And then I actually was stoned because I used to drive to school with my older brother smoking weed in the car. So between like lusting at all the girls in high school and being actually stoned, it wasn't surprising. Plus having a terrible attitude. I mean, you add all that up, I just didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to be stoned and on high. And so there you go. Anyway, so I eventually moved out, got my own place, started building up stash of magazines. I grew up in Chicago, but when I was 17 years old, I moved to Los Angeles with my parents and was just, again, dropped out of high school. I wasn't in school. I did manage to get a job. I was working. I had tons, by then, I had amassed a huge collection of magazines. Now, I got to tell you, this is in the 80s, right? So this is long, early 80s. This is long, actually maybe it's late 70s, early, way before the internet, of course. So, but, I had tons of magazines. I had VCR tapes. And, I didn't think much about it. I did it all the time. I just did it all the time. I don't think I felt bad. I actually liked it. I think I felt some shame. I felt like, well, this isn't good. And I think a lot of it was I felt bad that I couldn't talk to women. I really wanted a real girl. And occasionally I would have a girlfriend. But mostly I was just alone with my porn. So just to continue my story, so it was I started getting more and more depressed. And I didn't have a girlfriend. I was living in LA. I had a job. I was smoking pot constantly and using porn all the time. Ended up in therapy. For the first time in my life, I decided to go to therapy. And I have no idea. My timer has fallen here, so I better see how we're doing on time. Now, I'm one of these people that can go on forever, and I really have to keep track. Anyway, so Anyway, I ended up in 1984 going to Narcotics Anonymous, which is for my pot use, and I got sober. Also, I thought maybe I could meet some girls there. Anyway, but I did get sober. I quit my drugs. Anyway, so I was sober about a year. I still had tons of pornography, okay? But what happened after about a year being sober from drugs and alcohol, when I got done masturbating to pornography for the first time in my life, I noticed something. I noticed that I felt like crap. And I had this big hole inside, and it was really hurting me. And that had never happened before. And I also noticed even lusting on girls on the street that I felt pain. Anyway, I talked to some of my AA friends and NA friends, and I told them about this. I said, you know, I've got like 500 porn magazines. I've got this thing. And they said, well, we don't know about this. They said, maybe you should throw this stuff out. If it's making you feel bad, maybe you should throw it out. So one of my program buddies came over to my place. I'm living in LA, and we loaded up his trunk with hundreds and hundreds, my entire collection. I made one mistake, which if you're ever throwing out your porn, of course now you can't throw out your porn. You have to throw out your phone and your computer. But I shouldn't have done this, but I gave every magazine one last look, like saying goodbye to my best friend. Don't do that if you ever do. Anyway, so we loaded up his car, his trunk. I'm living in LA. Now, about a block from my house, there's a liquor store with this huge dumpster behind it. So, of course, you know, I needed to throw out my porn because I was quitting. So we heaved all these magazines into this giant dumpster. You know, I thought, okay, that's it. Okay, so the next morning, guess what I did as a sexaholic? Anybody out there? No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to guess. But what did I do is I went back. I went back to that dumpster because, honestly, there was a few magazines I wasn't quite ready to get rid of. Anyway, so I go back to the dumpster, and somebody had thrown all this disgusting garbage on top of it. Anyway, so then I started going to meetings. I heard about SA because I still want, you know, I quit. How many times? I've quit hundreds of times. Anyway, so I went to, I had heard about SA somehow. I went to my very first SA meeting in Los Angeles, and this is where I met Roy. Roy was there. I didn't know much about Roy, but he was sort of leading the meeting. You kind of got the feeling that he was running everything. He was sponsoring other people. Anyway, I asked him to be my sponsor because that's what people were doing. He was sponsoring a bunch of people. This was like in 1985. Anyway, I eventually moved. I kept going to meetings, and I would stop. I'm going to speed up my story now because eventually then I moved to Minnesota. I've been coming to these meetings since 1985. Okay, I'm 61 years old. I do have 12 years sober. But if you do the math, if I would have stopped in 1985, I would have, 35 years sober? I don't know. So my real story is once I got an SA, I kept trying to quit. I moved here, was going to meetings here, and my story really is I've sworn this thing off. I can't tell you how many times. And I was honest. I meant it because I'd always reached that point. I go, I can't keep using porn. And, of course, by then technology hadn't, moved on. Now I had the Internet and looked at hours and hours of porn, and then I felt like crap, worse and worse. And I've had many different lengths of sobriety, never like as long as I have now. But I once had 2 years, I once had 4 years, I once had 6 months. I've had all these different times, and I'd always go back. And I'd always be sorry. Anyway, let me just check my time. How are we doing? Okay, I'm doing okay. So what I noticed, and everybody has different stories in this program, I did never really increase my behavior. In other words, I didn't graduate from pornography to prostitutes. For some reason, porn was enough for me. It gave me the high I wanted. It gave me the fantasy I wanted, the pleasure I wanted. And also it gave me a lot of pain and depression. But the high was always there. And I would go on the internet like all of us have. Everyone has different behaviors, but I would go on there. And anyway, so what I started noticing was my behavior wasn't progressing, but how awful I felt afterward was progressing. And I started to feel suicidal afterward. And after one of those binges, I thought, boy, I've got to stay. I can't do this. This is killing me. I'm going to ruin. By now I'm married, actually. And I was working in a store. I've been in sales most of my life. And so I had a sobriety date going for a year or two, and then I slipped again. And this is the slip I'll tell you a little bit more about. This is my last slip. In 2008, I was on about a 4 or 5 month binge. I was managing a small store where I worked pretty much by myself. All day long, I could look at porn and masturbate, which I did. I reached a level of depression and despair that I've never ever seen. It was unbelievable. But I couldn't stop. I ended up quitting that job. Somebody said, Ron, you've got to get out of there because you're sitting there. I even told the owner. The owner of the store was an AA, and I kind of had a good relationship with him. I said, hey, can you please put a filter on this computer because I'm using porn all day, and I feel I can't even. Customers would come in. I couldn't even talk to them. I was on Planet Zebra. I was so stoned and out of it, and I couldn't even talk to customers, and I was supposed to be a salesman on commission. So if somebody in my meeting said, look, Ron, you better get out of there. Quit that job. Because you're sitting there all day with porn. And I started going to hospitals because of how depressed I was. Anyway, I did quit. But now I'm home, no job. My wife is at work. I'm at the house by myself. Well, I went out and bought magazines. She had the computers locked down at home. I don't even think I had a smartphone. I didn't have a smartphone yet. This was this was in 2008. I don't think I had a smartphone. Anyway, I had never been so low in my life. I lost a bunch of weight. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I was abusing sleeping pills. I couldn't stand being in my body, and I was very suicidal. That's how depressed I was. All I could think about, and I hate to share this with you guys, but I wanted to off myself, and I was constantly thinking, because I felt trapped, honestly. I couldn't stop acting out. I really reached that jumping off place, which is in the big book. If you guys have ever read Bill's story, where I couldn't live with pornography, but I couldn't live without it. There was nowhere to go. I was cornered. Pornography was my master. When it called, I came running, and it called often. Anyway, one day I was going to hang myself because my wife was at work. I was just in utter despair. I didn't think I could ever make another dollar. I couldn't deal with anybody. I couldn't even talk to my wife. I couldn't even talk to program people. I was so depressed. So I took out a belt from my closet. I had a chin-up bar, and I was going to hang myself. And I called my sponsor. I had a sponsor. I'm in the program, but I was going to hang myself. And I had this talk with my sponsor, and he said, well, I better come over. I said, well, I don't know. I'm not going to do it. I said, well, maybe I will. I don't know. I was like playing ping pong in my head. So anyway, my sponsor came over. He drove me to the hospital. And I sat there for 8 hours with my sponsor. Then eventually my wife shows up. I'm like, honey, meet my sponsor. This is not the situation I wanted. Here's my sponsor. She never met him before. She knew I was in the program. The three of us sat in the emergency room. And I didn't know what I wanted. Part of me wanted to stay there. Part of me wanted to go home. Anyway, I finally met with the doctor after waiting 8 hours. You know, they don't put you on priority when you're there for depression. They take care of the people whose arms are bleeding or whatever. So the doctor talked to me. He said, you know what, Ron? He said, I heard you about this belt, and you were going to hang yourself. I heard about it. I guess somebody told. I didn't tell him. My sponsor told the doctor. My wife told the doctor. I said, yeah, I wasn't going to die. I was goofing around. He goes, well, normal people don't do that, Ron. He said, guess what? You're not leaving. And they locked me up. So for 10 days, I was in the psych ward. That's how I got 10 days sober, you guys. So I came home with 10 days sober. The only reason I had 10 days sober was because I was locked up. And you might want to guess the first thing I did when I got home, I was still incredibly depressed with 10 days sober. My wife was at work. I had no job. I still felt like killing myself. Not a fun thing. But I sat there. I figured, I'm going to get this computer going. I want to look at more porn. Now, you would have thought, I would have said, wow, why would you want to do that after you almost committed suicide? But I was still super depressed. I couldn't figure out her password. I wanted to figure out her password. Couldn't figure it out. Anyway, I'm going to speed it up. We're going to get to the positive stuff soon, you guys. So I'm watching my timer. Anyway, I didn't look at porn. I tried. Anyway, she helped me find a job. I got a job selling cars. I started to stay sober. I got 30 days. I got 60 days. I got 90 days. And I finally realized that something came to me that said, Ron, this is your last chance. You have to stay sober, no matter what. And I called people. And I also learned that I had to stop all this negative thinking. I had so much self-loathing my whole life, you guys. I had so much. And they even told me in the hospital, they said, you've got to start using positive affirmations. So I did. I had to. I've been sober since then, over 12 years. I haven't looked, and I'm here to tell you, I'm not bragging. I have not once looked at pornography in that time. I have not once used my iPhone, which I'm so grateful to have for pornography. I've not Googled, and I'm not bragging. If I were to even start typing on Google a couple letters, I can't do that. I use my phone I started my own business. It's amazing. I have a very successful business of my very own, which never would have happened if I wasn't sober. So now I have to stay sober. And it's been a miracle. I can't take it. I'm scared to death. I think possibly now that I've gotten sober, I know, and don't get me wrong, I'm not cured. When I'm in my right mind, I know, and the saying I say sometimes, I say, look, I know I got another slip in me, but I don't think I got another recovery in me. So that was evident, because I think if I go back, I'm not only going to be like I was and wanting to kill myself, will be even worse, which is unfathomable to me, how bad it would get. For whatever reason, this pornography, I don't know about other people. I'm sure plenty of people who can enjoy pornography, just like there's people who can have a beer. My wife can drink a glass of wine, and she could give a crap. She'll have a few sips and put it down. I look at that. I'm like, how do you do that? I would guzzle it down and run out and buy 10 more bottles. I'd be on the floor. So I'm just not normal. And the same thing with pornography. I think there are people who can enjoy a little porn. They look at it, they don't really care. They say, hey, nice, she looks good, let's go shoot some baskets. They walk away. That's not me. I have an allergic reaction to pornography, just like an alcoholic has an allergic. Once I start looking or even begin to look, I get this rush, this body chemistry change that I'm completely addicted to. I become a different person. My life is over. It's just like alcohol. And I'm so grateful to Roy, because the thing that Roy understood And that's how he got sober. He went to AA. And our whole white book is really lustaholic. I am an alcoholic with lust. So when I lust, it's no different than an alcoholic taking that drink. If you go to AA meetings, they know they can't even have a sip because they're going to start that allergy, and now they've got cravings, and their whole thing is they can't just play with it. And I know that. So I can't, but the only way I'm going to remember that, here's my last thing I'll say, and I'm going to wrap it up. This step one, it's a two-part thing. One is I have an allergy of the body, which means I can't take any lust in without it having a very unusual reaction that normal people don't even understand. The other part is I've got a mind that if I stop going to meetings and stop working my program, my mind will sooner or later tell me I can take a little. And that's why I keep coming back and being active in this program, because that's my insanity. I will say, oh, well, this time it'll be different. They'll just do a little. I'll just check out some swimsuit ads or whatever. I mean, it's a two-part allergy. I'm going to forget. I got a brain that can't remember that I have a disease, and I have a disease that once I forget and take that first drink, it's going to kill me. So life is good. Everyone else, I have to deal with my moods. I call people. I have depression. I have this up and down. I have a decent life. I have a good life. I have a great life. I have to always work on being grateful. My number one character defect throughout my life, I was never grateful no matter what I had. No matter what I had, I wanted more of it. I didn't even know what I wanted, but I wanted more of it. There's a funny saying in AA, I think if I can try to say it right. Alcoholics are people who don't know what they want, and they're mad that they don't have it. And I'm learning in sobriety to be grateful for what I have, because I had to work on my food problem. I had to work on I always want to buy things. I want something to fix me. That's me, but I don't need a fix today. I want to fix them, don't get me wrong, but I'm basically learning to be content and grateful, and I'm so glad to be with all of you today. And the last thing I'll say is this is a one-day-at-a-time program. All that matters is I don't screw this up today or even in the next hour. I've learned to just postpone or make phone calls. Stay away from it. Don't mess around. Also, this custody of the eyes, I've got to not even take little sips. Little sips lead to bigger sips. And then I'm fine. I'm like a normal person. I can function and work and talk to people and have a good time. I'm like a guy in a wheelchair. I have a handicap. I just can't play with it. And with that, I am done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ron, in Minnesota, for your service today. We have quite a lot of people. We have 93 people on the line today, so let's make the questions brief for our speaker, Ron in Minnesota. In participation, we avoid topics that can lead to dissension or distraction. We also avoid explicit sexual descriptions and sexually abusive language. The emphasis is on honesty, recovery, and healing, how to apply the 12 steps and traditions in our daily lives. No crosstalk, please. This means interrupting, giving advice, or criticizing another person's share. If you feel that another person is getting too explicit, you may so signify by saying, "My hand is raised," at which point we will consult a group conscience. Now, press star 6. I guess people are still joining the call. Press star 6 to unmute and ask our speaker a question. And again, please be brief. Who would like to ask a question?
Yeah, Rena, this is Daniel to ask this question.
Okay. I see Bill in New York City, Daniel in Alaska, and Ron in Baltimore. So Bill, Daniel, and Ron.
Thank you very much for letting me share. I'm actually Bill in Las Vegas now. I moved to Las Vegas yesterday. A couple days ago.
Okay, we love Vegas.
Thank you. Wow, I am just, Bill, recovering addict. I'm just so blown away by that whole everything you said, and just so grateful that I was able to make this meeting today, because I'm all screwed up with the time differences. It's not a noon meeting for me anymore. It's at 9 a.m. Anyway, so much relating in the beginning was like almost like you were telling my story. I mean, I had the love affair with pot for so many years. I was deathly afraid of women when I was younger, to the point where it just kind of, I couldn't talk to them either as well. But at some point, I knew that I had to have them all know me and like me. And I was kind of like, it might have been, in grammar school, I think in 5th grade, like, I think a few girls cornered me in the playground, different exits, and they were like, which one of us do you like? And I couldn't even answer it because I wanted them all. This is like, I'm like 7 years old. So something was wrong. I can't figure out what it exactly was, but again, a strange relationship with my mom. So I'm relating this then pot. I mean, every day I got kicked out of high school. And then I won't get into so much about what I did, but it was so great to hear your story. My question to you is, and I hear this question a lot when people speak, but it's always good to hear it again because people have different, speakers have different answers. Give me 3 of your main things that you do that you could say, like, these 3 things have kept me sober because, man, I want to be better. I only have 61 days today. I'm 59 years old, and I just can't live like this anymore. I just can't, So please, share. Yeah, thank you so much.
Excellent. You bet. Thank you so much. Great question. Having a sponsor is super important. I have a sponsor. Getting comfortable with calling people is super important. So I have people that I'm comfortable calling. And I would say the third one is praying. I didn't talk much about that. I'm not a very religious person. I do feel spiritual. I do get on my knees, especially when I know, like, for instance, my wife likes to watch movies at night. They're not porno movies. They're normal movies, but knowing me, I will look for anything. So I go in the bathroom. I don't want her to know about it, but I get on my knees and I say, God, thank you for my sobriety up to this minute. Please help me stay sober from my lust during this movie. I do that also when I know I'm going into, like, situations where there's going to be more likelihood of me wanting to lust. So those are my 3 answers. Thank you.
Hey, Ron, this is Daniel. Thank you.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Thanks, Rena. Hey, Ron, this is Daniel. Thanks so much for sharing. And, yeah, I really identified. I smoked a lot of pot as a teenager and just was, definitely afraid of women. And I think the thing that I really, that jumped out at me was just the affirmations. That's something I really struggle with. I've been sober for a while, but, man, I just still struggle with just getting down on myself and just, negative thinking. What are, like, affirmations that you tell yourself? And I guess one thing that I've struggled with too is just how to identify. Like, I was talking to my counselor the other day, and they were talking, like, basically I don't tell myself I'm a good person anymore because then that means I can be a bad person, I'm the sick person getting well. But I guess, like, the affirmations that you use, and how do you identify yourself, like, in your own mind?
Yeah. Well, when I first got sober, like I was sharing, I actually had to, this sounds weird, but I made up songs, and I would do it in my car when I was by myself, that I love you, Ron, you deserve to be happy, and I would just repeat this over and over. So that was one of them. Also, I would tell my head to shut up. Sometimes, like, I'd stand up, I got to fight my disease. I'm so sick of my disease bringing me down, and I'd have to, like, sometimes after meetings I feel really good, like, strong, like, I'm going to kick your ass, excuse my language. But talking about the addiction, I'm you're not going to ruin my life, I would fight it. I just got really serious about it. Nowadays, though, I would say not so much that, but I just think being grateful, and the word I like to use is cultivate, because I'm not naturally grateful. I don't know gratitude. I have to find it. And gratitude and humility, I think, can't go wrong with that. And then it just puts you in a better place. That's what my answer would be.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Daniel.
You bet.
And now Ron in Baltimore. Come on in. Thank you for a question, Daniel. Ron, you are self-muted. I'm not able to.
Hi, Ron. This is Ron from Baltimore. I very much appreciate your share. I can totally identify with the part where you said you got into the program in 1985 and you didn't achieve long-term sobriety till 23 years later. I'm sort of in the same boat where I entered the program in 1996 and I've yet to achieve long-term sobriety, so I'm at 23 years as well, 24 years. So I really, it was very encouraging for me to hear that, because it seems like a lot of people get it right away and I haven't gotten it yet. Is there any way I could get your number to call you on a regular basis?
Absolutely.
All right. Can Rena, you share me his number, text me his number?
Yes, I will give Ron in Minnesota your number.
Okay.
Yeah, I can call
that.
you or text you my number. Absolutely, be happy to do that. And really, anybody that wants to call, feel free.
That would be very helpful for me, because I'm trying to find. I'm trying to call as many people as I can. It's challenging during the pandemic, so
Absolutely.
I appreciate your sharing very much. Thank you so much.
You bet. Appreciate you guys all being there, really, and yeah, that's it.
That's wonderful.
This is
okay.
This is Mike in California.
Okay.
This is Jack from Montreal. May I ask you a question afterwards?
Okay. Yep, Mike in Northern California, and then Jack in Montreal. Please remember that if you want to ask our speaker a question and you do not want to be on the recording, you can ask me to pause the recording. I'll be happy to do that for you, so you can ask your question. So go ahead, Mike in Northern California, and then Jack in Montreal.
Yeah, thanks, Rena, and thanks, Ron, for your share. Wow, that was powerful. I really appreciate it. My question is just what's kind of your daily maintenance for the steps that you take, the step work that you do, and what would you recommend?
Well, I would say, a sponsor. I sponsor a few people, and I think calling them every day or texting them every day, getting in the habit of connecting every day with at least one person in the program, having accountability partners, and really these steps, not that we didn't really talk about that, but certainly the whole program is all there for us, the instructions. But yeah, I think the thing I'll say, and I believe this, I think there's three things. It's like a triangle. So there's me, well, I don't know what, maybe there's God, there's me, and there's others. So I need all three of those. I need me, meaning I have to be responsible for making sure that I take care of myself and to stay sober. I also need a higher power, and I need others. The thing I see people doing, and if I lean too much on God and I think, oh, God is all I need, no. If I lean too much on just me, that's not good. Or if I lean too much on others, I have to have all three of those things. It's like a triangular balance. And I'll just leave you with that.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, this is Jack from Montreal. First of all, thank you a lot, Ron, for your share. It shook me to the core. Was able to relate so much with the putting women on a pedestal and the whole, not graduating from pornography to other things. That is completely my situation. I have just two questions, if I may.
Sure.
The first one, have you struggled with comparing your addiction to other guys? I tend to do that sometimes. Like guys do, they have done prostitutes. They have done much more extreme things, and yet they got sober like right away, let's say. And me, I'm just at the porn, and I'm still stuck in that. So that's one question. And the second one is about internet filters. I'm wondering if you use one, if one has helped you get sober. Again, some guys say that actually, protects them, and without that, they're screwed. And some say that actually makes it worse because it increases the obsession. It makes them want to watch porn more. So I just wanted to know your input on these two questions, and thank you so much.
Sure. The first one, can you remind me, what was the first question? Was what? Oh, it's guys that don't. I got it. I remember. Yeah. Well, honestly, at least where I live, there's tons of guys that just mainly have porn as their problem. And so I don't really feel like I'm unusual because I didn't do a lot of other things. But, ultimately, all that matters is what we have in common is that we're using an addiction. I mean, an addiction will kill you. Any addiction, if it's strong, it'll kill us. So it really doesn't matter what it is we're using. If I can get high on porn and you get high on, chocolate bars or whatever it is, I mean, if you're binging and it's ruining your life, it doesn't matter what it is, the actual substance. Any addiction, if it's a real addiction, will ruin your life and kill us ultimately. Let's see, now I forgot the other half of your question. I'm bad, man. What was it? Something about, what was the other half?
About filters.
Filters. Oh, filters is an excellent question. Filters, I do not have any filters, but I think they're not a bad idea when you're first starting out because anything, and see, here's just an example. My filters, if I'm in a bad place, if I'm going to bed and I feel tempted, I will turn off my cell phone, I'll power it down, or I'll put it in another room. And all that's doing is it's slowing me down a little. I feel a little safer because if I'm feeling tempted to use my smartphone, I'm just going to make it a little harder. So in a way, but I don't have any filters. But when I think new people who are just starting out, it's so hard. And the thing with sobriety, there's two parts of sobriety, in my opinion. There's getting sober and there's staying sober. Getting sober is when you're trying to break. It takes maybe 90 days at least to get sober, in my opinion, or longer. And that's I got to get out of those cravings. And so when you're getting sober, anything that can help slow us down so we have it makes it a little harder, it's not a bad idea. But it's not, of course, the answer. But I'm so grateful I don't need a filter because, and I don't say that in a prideful way, it's just that because I'm being restored to sanity each day, I don't want trouble. But sometimes I will. So if I sense myself wanting it, I've got a much earlier warning because I've been sober a while. I can feel when I'm getting myself in a bad place, and I've got a longer time to work it through, whereas when you're new, you get in a bad place, you instantly go to the phone, you instantly go to your computer. So whatever can slow you down is worth doing, but it's only it's part of the solution in having a filter. It's not a bad thing in the beginning, but we all need, I think most of us underestimate what's needed to make this work. We need an army. And that means I need everybody to help me. I need a frickin' army to stay sober. So everyone underestimates what's needed. That's why you got to call a lot of people, go to a lot of meetings, really submerge yourself in this thing. That's what's going to help us the most. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack, for your question. Okay, Ron, how much longer can you stay with us into the parking lot? For more questions.
Sure. I am good for another half an hour. 20 minutes,
awesome.
Half an hour.
That's great. We still have about.
And by then you'll all. I just want to say, by then you'll all be completely sick of me because I'm very. No, I mean I always joke around, but people once I start talking, I'm so passionate about this program because it saved my life, and I can easily forget that and take it for granted, but I do. Most people who talk to me end up saying, "God, this guy, can we shut him up?" Anyway, I'm done. Thank you.
No, we have a line of people waiting to talk to you, so we'll take a brief pause for announcements.
This is Paul.
We'll take a brief pause for announcements, and then we will come back. Hang on. We'll come back to continue. Okay, Paul in Ohio, you wanted to be first with the question. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is Paul in Ohio, Sexaholics. Yeah, I've tried the filters on phones. It's been about 7 years. I always find a way around them. I guess I'm just a real low bottom addict. You know, it's just, I guess if there's a way to act out, I'll find something. I always have. I had my folks block the Wi-Fi password on the house, and I found out what it was. But I wish I didn't. But anyway. And as far as the suicide goes, a couple of years I bought a shotgun, a box of shells, and I didn't put a shell in the gun, but I stuck the barrel in my mouth so I wish a trigger. So I'm at the bottom of the barrel, and you know, staying sober isn't just a nice thing to do anymore. It's those are killing me, and I'm getting older, I guess. But I don't know. I'm you know, and people say, well, you know, pray more, surrender more, and I don't know. I'm not sure what to do anymore. So I'm a sponsor, go to meetings, all that stuff, and pray and read. But I have a condition where I can't get out of the house. So, but yeah. Go on. I'd like you to maybe have the secretary text me your phone number. But
sure.
Well, I'm there's like quicksand here, so I don't know what your advice would be.
Well, you know, the thing is that there's, you know, other tools like therapy, individual therapy, also medication.
Yeah, I get those things. Yeah, I do those things too. Yeah.
And I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's there's really no way to tell anyone, you know, how to stop. I think even in the White Book, it says something about we don't know to tell you how to stop. They say that they can tell you how to stay stopped, but you know, in any given moment, you know. You never know when the miracle. I guess say that, you know, there's a saying they say, don't quit before the miracle. So just keep coming back, and don't beat yourself up. You know, you got to try to love yourself, forgive yourself, and just keep trying. I think trying, you know, if you just try, just for today, and if you can get even one day.
So
nobody, the world's record for sobriety is 1 day. It's whoever got up earliest. You've probably heard that.
So you don't think this is a moral issue then?
Hi. May I just interject briefly?
Sure.
Thanks. It's Antoinette in Ireland, Sexaholics over since 3 July last year. I know some of my comrades here, some of the men said they couldn't properly get sexually sober until they put the food down. So I think the same part of the brain lights up for both. And some people have the dual addiction to food and the lust, and both they're very connected apparently. There's just a thought that came to mind. Okay, I'll remute because I'm going to a bus stop.
Yeah. You don't believe this is a moral issue then?
Well, I don't know. What do you mean by that? moral.
Well, I know all I know is some of the people who are in SA in Ireland.
I was asking the question. Thank you. No, it says in the big book that drinking was not a moral issue. I don't know if Sexaholics Anonymous is.
Well, no, it's not a matter. It's what's right or wrong for me.
Yeah.
I don't say pornography is a bad thing, and I think that alcohol is not. There's nothing wrong with alcohol, and I think there are people who can use porn and they don't have a problem with it. What matters is that I have to know what's hurting me.
Oh yeah.
It's not a moral. I don't think it's a moral issue because I don't think SA wants to take a stand and say porn is evil or porn is bad. It's all we got to say is that for whatever reason there's something different about me, and when I do porn, I feel terrible.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying porn itself is evil. I don't take that position. That's what you mean by moral.
No, I just sometimes I just think I'm a nasty, evil, horrible person. So, so it's just, why not go ahead and do it? You're horrible anyway. But people tell me not to think that way. I'll be quiet. Thank you.
Okay. No, good luck. Hang in there, and you never know. Keep trying.
This is Vaughn.
Okay, and everyone, please remember, do not interrupt. Please wait your turn. We will try and get to you as quickly as possible. Ron in Illinois, go ahead. And did we have someone else who wanted to come in after that? One moment, Ron.
Sure. I'm a patient guy.
Frank in California.
Okay, Ron in Illinois and then Frank in California. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, here's Vaughn. Hi, Rena. Thank you. Thank you, Ron. I'm your neighbor in Illinois. Nice to hear you. I just had a question. My daily sobriety renewal person and I, a lot of growth there. We're also kind of spiritual guides to each other. But anyway, I wondered how you look at pride. It's a character defect. I know that, but what's your take on that?
Well, the thing is that what we want is an honest view of who we are. So if I isolate a lot, I can pretend that I'm better than I am. I can think I'm... The truth is, I think all it is that pride, false pride, is I think I'm better than I am or that I'm better than other people, right? So I just think that we just want an honest view. And really, we're not better than anyone, but we're not worse than anyone. We're all equal. So we're fellows. I don't care if you have 2 days sober and I have 200 years. I'm not better than anyone. So pride is dangerous if I think I'm separating. So the reason we do pride is we're afraid to join with others. And I've used that. I can see that with my wife. I'm afraid of intimacy. I'm afraid of people. I'm afraid of relationships. So that's what my pride does, is it keeps me separate. But when we join and say, hey, I'm equal to you, you're equal to me, we're all in this together, that's scary, but that's the truth. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, so we're all equal, and that's where humility is. So we're just being honest. Take away the distortions that you have about yourself and other people, and just all we can do is try to be honest, and that's good enough.
Yeah, thank you. I find that, humility means being teachable, being willing, a willingness thing, all that stuff. And then, and to the person that was struggling, we're sick men. The last previous question, I'll just take a minute, Rena. We're sick men getting well. I don't know how he did his second step, but my view of God. Unfortunately, I've always had a pretty good view of God, but it's broad, and so many people in the program have helped me with that. that how loving he is, and just like you were saying, the gentleman, you're not a bad person. So that's all. And I just want to say that as a person, I believe that from the tip of my toes to the top of my head, and in my spirit. I just know that absolutely. I'm not trying to preach, but I just absolutely know that. So I pass. Thank you, Rena, and thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. Oh, I would like his phone number too, Rena.
I will put you on the list of people to give to Ron to contact.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Sure.
Hey,
that would be
thanks,
good.
Ron.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Frank, Sexaholics from California. Thanks, Rena, for your service as moderator. Thanks, Ron, for sharing your story, and all those who have asked questions and are on the call. One response when you mentioned it's really what helps work for you to be sober is to have a sponsor. And I was just wondering, in the 12 years you've been sober, if you have the same sponsor, how do you work the steps? I know some guys have went through the 12 steps 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and I don't know if they're doing that with the sponsor, but I understand the sponsor helps the member to work through the steps. They're not the counselor, this and that, but to help, work those steps and keep working them every day. So I'd just like to hear how your experience of sponsor, if you've had several in the past 12 years or you have the same one, and how you work with the sponsor and the sponsor works with you. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. I've actually had 2 sponsors in the last 12 years. My first sponsor I chose to let go because he was struggling and admitted it, and he ended up slipping. So I wanted to go with someone. The guy that I have now has about 16 years sober, and we've definitely gone through the steps. I just have this there's something about this guy, I don't know how to explain it, where he knows me well, and he's mostly just told me to quit beating myself up. I mean, I would call him and present my daily problem, which was, I was upset or mad at myself, and he had a way to make me laugh and make me not take myself so seriously and just say, dude, he called it a hair shirt. He said, take off that hair shirt. And I didn't even know what a hair shirt was, but I guess it's a way to feel itchy. But mainly he had a sense of humor, and he would help me feel like, hey, dude, this isn't so bad. Just lighten up. And I think a lot of us, we need to sometimes hear that. It's life's problems and things that we get ourselves into. Sometimes we just need to hear, hey, you're going to be okay, and just relax, whatever it is. But he made me laugh sometimes. I just had I think the most important thing is that you have a comfortable relationship with someone. I think I'm so grateful that this man has, and we've helped each other, but, I just have a good feeling with him, and I think it's hard to describe what that is, but I'll pass with that.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you, Frank. Okay, let's have a couple more names for sharing, for asking or speaker a question. And again, if you want to be off the recording, simply request it, and we'll pause it. Who else would like to ask or speaker a question? Ron in Minnesota.
Matt from Alaska.
Okay, Matt. Anyone else? Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, hi, Ron. That was a great talk. Yeah, I was going to just listen today. I just want to listen today, but one of the guys that asked you a question hit a real sensitive nerve in a good way, and that's what forced me to wait for a turn to talk to you. And the nerve he hit was when he said how he felt guilty because he kept going back. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm cross-talking. I apologize. Well, I'm just saying that's the same issue as me. I was in SAA for 4 years, then I went to SA because I liked SA better. I'm not saying one is better than the other. It just resonated more, SA. anyway, so 5 years I've been in the S programs in recovery, and I'm still struggling to stay sober, even more than like the most I had was 31 days. So I really identify with what you guys were talking about there, and I feel guilty all the time when I call in and I hear people, like 90% of the people on the meeting say, "Oh, I got 90 days, I got 6 months, I got 20 years, I got 3 years," and then it comes my turn and I don't even call in, you know. So, and sometimes I don't even want to go to this is going to sound horrible, but sometimes I don't even want to go to a meeting because of that, you know, because of the shame. And so that's all I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a tough addiction. It's a very tough addiction to quit, and it's a lifelong. I think most people that have this addiction, it's their first addiction. I mean, like in my story, I had this problem since I was a tiny little kid, way before I started getting high and doing alcohol and drugs. So it's very hard, and I think that we get it through the eyes. So it doesn't take much. You go out, you go to the grocery store, you go anywhere, and there's triggers. The triggers are, you know, I shouldn't call them triggers, but this is a tough addiction. So just keep trying, keep coming back, keep making calls, develop your relationships, and just be honest. And then you're doing your part. You know what I mean? It's kind of like anything else.
Can you say something really quick? I quit soda and cigarettes, and they were a walk in the park compared to this. So I just want to say you're right. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it is. It's very hard, but like anything, you know, we just keep trying and take that one day at a time. It's a new day. The past is over. We can restart anytime. So, and you never know. You never know when you're going to be given that little door. Sometimes there's like a little door that opens and you say, hey, I see an opportunity. And I had that experience, like I told in my story. Something happened where I started to feel a little bit better. And I thought, you know what? I think I'm starting to get better. I got to protect this. So just, you never know. Keep coming back, like they say. And it could be tonight. It could be today. You might say, you know, and it might get easier. You never know. Keep trying. That's all we can do. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, folks, there's quite a number of you still here. And we have maybe 15 more minutes with our speaker today. So come on in with your questions. Press star 6. And thank you, Matt, for your question today.
Hi, Shipra here. Shipra Sexaholic from India.
Hi, Shipra. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question. I had a slip after 4 months, and I've been in the program for 2.5 years almost. And what do you say to the things where you are not planning to do or see someone, and they pop up out of the blue, and then it sticks to you, and you're not able to get them out of the head, and then it's by the evening, you try everything throughout the day. I mean, to those kind of incidents which you don't tend to do, but it's like lust puts them out there, and I mean, it hits you.
Well, I you know, the thing is that the more people you get to know and talk to, you know, because the opposite, the real connection is like we're doing now. The real connection is with the women, the friends, the people you're comfortable. The other connection is the drug. And honestly, it's, you know, we all get lied to. This addiction will lie to us. It'll say, come here, this is going to be the greatest thing. And I can't tell you, I don't know about you, this addiction, I've gone to it thinking, oh boy, this will be great. And then how many times was it not so good? It wasn't good at all. It lies to us. And it makes us look, it's like a shiny thing. Oh, look at how great. This is going to be so much fun and exciting. And then you go and do it, and I go and do it, and then afterward we're like, what did I do? This was crap. But see, what happens is if you call more people, you need people to help. We all need people to help us remind us that this thing is BS. There's nothing good there. We're being lied to by this addiction. But it looks good. That's the story of my life. It was like this, it's calling me. This looks so good, I can't resist. And then I would be done, and I did. And I thought, well, what did I do? This was not so great. I feel like crap. This disease is tricking us. It's lying to us. There's nothing there, but we need help. We need help for people to remind us that you can go and act out, but there's really, if it was so great, you wouldn't be in this program. None of us would be on this call if this thing was so great. It's a big trick, and it's an illusion. There's nothing there but pain. But it looks good, and we seduce ourselves. But that's why we need help. We need a lot of people to call, people to remind you, because I think you know the truth, that this thing, it's never that good. I don't care who you're going with or who any of us. We go and we come back and we go, what did I do? I feel like crap. The addiction is a lie. So we don't need to be lied to. We can help each other see the truth. And that's why I suggest we all need to make more calls and talk to people, and that's the real connection. With that, I'll pass.
One more question. I've heard that once you slip after a long duration, you go into chronic slip, and that's kind of thing that is happening with me, that I've been having multiple slips, and initially I hid from everyone that is what is happening, and now it's like it's in my face, and I had to finally surrender to the idea that, okay, I was like reducing 5 days and all that from my total. I was like, okay, 5 days, I was not sober, so minus 5 days. But then I had to ultimately give in and said, okay, this is not going to work. You're lying to yourself and to others also. And then, it's like even though I stay sober one day in between or something, it keeps coming back. It attacks in so many ways. I'm almost about to lose my sponsor.
Yeah. No, and I understand. And again, this thing, it's just like I read the big book, and I love Bill's story, and there's so many, and I relate to the AA stuff. And, you know, on one hand, I'm telling you there's nothing there. But the truth is it's a craving, and the craving's very hard. So getting sober is very hard because we're in the midst of the cravings, okay? And the more you do it, the worse you feel, so the more you want relief. It's a vicious circle. It's a vicious cycle. So I pray for you. You know, I don't know. I mean, like I said, there's so many things that are involved. But the more, I still can say, we're all with you. We're a family. Join us and make those calls. And the more you do that, sometimes you just got to go to any lengths. But I do think you got to take the pain. And here's the thing. There's no way out. It's going to hurt to stop. Acting out hurts, but stopping hurts too. There's a very painful withdrawal. If you stop acting out when you feel like it, it's going to hurt. Sooner or later, we got to face the pain of sobriety. At least that's the pain of getting better, though. There's the pain of getting worse, and there's the pain of getting better. But just keep trying, and don't beat yourself up. You know.
I have one last bit, if you allow me, please.
Sure.
What is it seems like this program is very hush-hush, and you're not allowed to vomit in the group in front of people, or you're not allowed to even talk to great length or vomit out in front of your sponsor because you care for her recovery. you care for people younger than you in the recovery who came later. It's like, does one needs to vomit it all out once and then the better version comes, or it's always going to be like you can't share in entirety anything. You just have to be very bracketed and limit your shares every time. Because it seems, I've done step 4 with Nicholas, as I'm doing step 4 right now, and I was asked to be a speaker when I was 4 months sober, and I was writing it down, and the sensitivity hasn't gone. It still takes me down. And after 2.5 years, after having said it out loud to a few people, after having sat for 8 hours with my sponsor and vomiting it out, the sensitivity towards those incidents is not going. It still gives me jitters, and I'd never want to look at them. So, like, where do you go and share it fully so it goes away?
I'm not exactly sure. I think what you're saying is that you need to share more explicitly, but sometimes that can trigger people. Is that what you mean?
Yes. Not explicitly, but a little bit of detail maybe would be nice.
Yeah. Well, I think, the women, we try to have the women work with the women. So if you have women sponsors or women friends that are in the program, I think sometimes it is helpful to be able to tell the details. And you wouldn't necessarily do that in an open meeting, but you could do that one-on-one, and also certainly you could do that in therapy. So,
but I always live scared. If I say something, it would impact, so I don't tend to.
I understand. There are, situations. I think you can find people. Just keep trying. And I know there's guys. All I can tell you is there's guys I talk to who sometimes need to tell me a lot of details, and I'll be okay with it. But I also understand there's people that are uncomfortable with that. But you just keep trying, and like I say, therapy certainly. If you go to a therapy, and of course nowadays with COVID it's so weird, but even you can do therapy on the phone with a professional and pay them, or if you have insurance, then you can say anything, except if you're doing something illegal, they might have to report you. But beyond that, there's a way. I'm sure there's a way. All right.
All right. Thank you so much for your service today, Ron. Are you able to take one more question, or?
Yeah, I can do one more, and then I kind of got to get going. I got something I got to go do.
Good.
Yeah, one more.
Thank you,
great.
brother.
Sure.
All right. Anyone else would like to ask a quick question of our speaker today so we can wrap up? Going once? Let's see. Anyone with a question? Star 6 to unmute. Okay.
This is Matt from Alaska. Could I double dip?
Why not? Nobody else has said anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why I chimed in, because nobody was saying anything. I don't usually double dip, but what the previous questioner said, that hit a nerve too. I had a real issue with that when I first got in the program. Not so much anymore, but I had a real serious issue with that, because I had to go into. I mean, I understand the hush rules to not trigger my recovery friends on the tele meetings or in my face-to-face groups before the COVID-19, but I understand the rules, and I understand where they're coming from and why they're there, but I had a real issue with that too, because I really needed to go into detail so I could know what really was wrong and what really wasn't, and the limitations, and like whether I was a high bottom drunk or a low bottom drunk, and I found out I was a low bottom drunk. Yeah, so I had real issues with that too, so I'm glad she brought that up. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, great. And I wanted to let you guys know that there are first step shares groups set up for that. And if you're not part of one, you can simply request it, ask a few men or ask a few women, and set up a time and, dial up a number, conference in together, and you'll be able to share that way. Because that's something that's been very helpful for a lot of people to be able to move forward in their recovery. Ron, is there anything else you want to say? I want to make sure we give you the last word.
No, I really appreciate this opportunity, and I just want to say I love all of you, and we all have to love ourselves, and I'm just grateful that we're all in this together, and together we can do this one day at a time. Thank you.
Thank you.